Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I am Chelsea. If you are new around here, please subscribe. I would really appreciate it. Today is, I guess it's back when we first started living in a van, back when we lived in a T4. I'm going to be talking about because I found so much footage that I never actually knew I had when we were traveling around in the T4. I have so much footage of that I thought that I would share some of it with you now, just because I really liked that time and it was nice to live in the T4. Other than it being really cold and not a lot of room, other than that, it was fine. I think we lived in the T4 for 7 months, I think. Around 7 months? 7 to 9 months, I'm gonna say. But yeah, if I'm looking down, it's because I've got loads and loads of notes, and I've also got the map. I have the map out just because this is 2018 as well. So this map's 2018, and we were just really excited at that point to be traveling around, and we just wanted to drive every single road we possibly could. So we got a map and basically, I will try and show you this right now. Basically, what we've got here is these R's, which are recommendations from people that live in Scotland and people that we met along our travels that have recommended spots for us that say it's a nice day trip or it's a really nice spot to camp, stuff like that. So we have them dotted all over the paper map like this. And then we have little squares like this. They were spots that we saw along the road, places that we were driving past that we thought that, oh, that could be a really good spot, or that could be a good spot. But every time we would go somewhere, we already had places in mind, and we had most of it planned out because there were day trips that we wanted to do and walks that we wanted to do. So there were certain places that we wanted to camp. And then we also have you see this cross? So the crosses are places that we have stayed. Felix, which is our T4, we name every single vehicle we have, but he was definitely overweight with all our stuff in there, especially when we were living in it. So hills that he struggled on, I would write the percentage of the hill here next to where the piece of road was on the actual map, just so we know that specific piece of road was you come around and down. You were literally on the cliffside as well, so you come around and down and then a really tight corner. So they made the corner really wide for the lorries, so when they went around the corner they could go out off basically off the road and onto the white lines and stuff, really far out around, so they could go around it. Such a tight corner. So in this little combination of stuff, it is me, Joe, and one of his really close friends that he went to school with. He is also traveling with us around at that point. So yeah, we have brought his friend Josh along with us. So what we did was we started at Loch Clooney, which is on the route, on the NC500 route, because we knew, right, it's on the route. It's also about half an hour, 45-minute drive from Inverness, which really isn't that far if you think about the grand scheme of things. Scotland's massive and everything is so spread apart that it wasn't actually that far away. So we stayed at Loch Clooney. One of the reasons we wanted to stay there to start the trip off with the NC500 was because we met a really nice man who lived in that lay-by, who ran a burger van, and he was so friendly. He was really lovely. Unfortunately, he's not there anymore because we kept in contact with him and we've seen him every single year. Other than now, this is the longest time we've been away from him, and it's really sad. But yeah, we stayed there just because we love the man. Really, he's just so friendly and so open. And a couple of nights he fed us, we fed him. He was very lovely. Every morning he would give us a coffee. He'd wake up and he'd be like, hey guys, do you want a coffee? So we'd go over and see him in the burger van and ask him how he is then that morning and all that sort of stuff. One of the main reasons that I really like it there is because there's 5 minute, not even 5 minute, a minute walk, and you're literally at the loch. and then if you cross the road, then go like up a hill, and you're basically in the mountain ranges there. And I think there's about 3 to 5 different mountains that you could climb there. I think it's called like the Three Peaks or the Three Sisters or something. And then down the road you then have Glen Shield as well, but it's kind of part of Glen Shield. So that's why we stayed there. The stones are really, really, really sharp here. So what we did, and what we've done every single time, is we started by going the East Coast all the way around to the West Coast. We personally like doing it that way because, one, you go through Inverness before you start going up into like God knows where and into like the middle of nowhere where there's like hardly any people or hardly any stuff or hardly any shops. So what we did was we went to the city first, which is Inverness, and we literally stocked up on everything we possibly could, like all the things we would need from like a proper supermarket that little corner shops and post offices and stuff like that wouldn't have. They do have things like toilet roll, but it's not as cheap as it would be in like a city where you could go to Asda or like a big chain store. So like things like toilet roll and bottled water, that's expensive as well. We had to have bottled water in the T4 purely because we couldn't have anywhere to have running water, and then having a bottle or a thing for running water is then going to take up more space in there, which is not what you want. You just don't want that in a tiny little van. So we didn't have running water or anything, so we would literally everything, we would cooking water, washing up water, drinking water was all from bottles. Also, one thing that I think needs to be said is that in the cities like Inverness and Fort William and like Glasgow and stuff, the fuel is 10 times cheaper. It's so much more cheaper. And then when you get out of like Inverness and you start getting to like all the little towns, it kind of gets a bit more expensive. I would say when you're going up around the East Coast towards John O'Groats, Wick is a very, very good place because they have a Lidl. Is it a Lidl or an Aldi? It's a Lidl. It is a Lidl. And they have quite cheap fuel as well. So that's quite a good one to remember. That's one thing we always do. We fill up in Inverness, Wick. I know Wick's not very far from Inverness, but we like to top up every time there's cheap fuel because you're not paying loads of money. Because I think this was in 2018, mind. I don't know what the fuel prices are like now. In 2018, I think normal prices or cheap prices for England were 123.9 for diesel. And then in Scotland, I think it was like double that. I think it was like 14 something 0.9, which is absolutely insane. And me and Joe were like, are they actually paying these prices? That's ridiculous. So every time we would see anything under 1.4, we would get it. So, which is difficult, but that's fine. That's fine. The dogs are gonna start barking now, sorry. The postman. Sorry, I can't remember what I was talking about now. So the first night, we didn't even know that this was there. Josh actually found this. Yeah, so Josh went and found somewhere to stay. He was like, oh, I'll find somewhere to stay. This will be fun. This will be cool, because we were finding all the spots. And he found somewhere near Loth. Oh my God. I could be killing this, right? I have no idea how to say this. I'm not Scottish. Lothbeg? I honestly don't know, but it's on the A9. It's on the A9 on the East Coast. going up to John O'Groats and Wick, basically. And it was just absolutely beautiful in the middle of the woods. The first day we drove from Loch Clooney to Inverness, and then from Inverness up the east coast, so up the A9 to Lothbeck. The second day we drove from Lothbeck to Wick, and then from Wick all the way to John O'Groats. So we did like the whole east coast side basically in one drive in one day. It was mainly a driving holiday for Joe and Josh because we already been there, like me and Joe, so we've seen quite a lot of it already. So we were just showing Josh like the best bits basically. Once you get past Wick, it starts getting more and more expensive, but that is also because it's getting more and more sparse, the amount of people and the amount of people and the amount of houses. But yeah, we didn't really spend much time John O'Groats, just personally because there's not much there. There's lots of people. You can get boat trips out there as well to like see all the seals and like the birds and stuff, which is really cool. It's quite expensive to pay for parking as well, so we just don't want to stay there for very long because it's like, oh, you've got to pay for a certain amount of time to be there and there's not much there. So we are finally at John O'Groats in Scotland, and we are just parking up to get some photos. It's Josh parking up. Once we were done at John O'Groats, we took the A836, the A836, all the way to the west side pretty much. We went all the way along the top in one day. There's a lot of places to stay along the top. It's more the wind and the fact that it was cold and the fact that there's just nothing up there to do. There's nothing along the top. There are certain things you can do, I suppose. I don't know. We've just never really stopped that much along the top. Every time we've been there, it's been for driving, pretty much. I know we stopped at Colbacky is where we stopped because the first time we did the NC500, I completely and utterly fell in love with this beach. I don't really know what the beach is called. It's near Rabbit Island, so basically the beach you can see, and then you see, like, look out onto Rabbit Island, which is lovely. So here it is on this bit here, and there, one of these two is Rabbit Island. That little spot there, you can like go over the bridge, but it's not really a bridge because the bridge is on like the floor of the Kyle pretty much. But that's a really beautiful spot to stay. There's like a little, literally there's a road and then there's like a little car park, and like you can put your feet in the Kyle. It's crazy. Yeah, you literally just walk on a few stones so you can put your feet in the Kyle. Where you can see the rainbow right now is the spot that I'm on about. So that's on the Kyle of Tongue. But that's one of my favourite spots. We didn't go down there and like go on the beach or anything, purely because it was absolutely raining. A836, every single time we've driven that, which is about 4 or 5 times now, it's rained. It's been absolutely hammering it down, and it's never ever been nice and sunny. So I think that's why we never really stop anywhere up there or like spend the night anywhere along there, purely because it rains every single time. We ended up that night staying in Durness. We stayed literally on the Kyle of Durness, so the estuary that comes in. There's like a little car park there. The first time we stayed there, our tyre decided to be like, oh, you need a new one. Like, the only house there was a farm, and the farmer was so nice. He was absolutely fine with us staying there. And bearing in mind, this was the first time we'd been there, so this is when me and Joe went on our own. Yeah, our tyre broke down. Our tyre broke down. Our tyre decided that it was going to go flat. So we thought, oh, it's not a cursed car park, but it might be. We're a bit sceptical. We're a bit like joking around, like, oh, if something happened in this car park, like, oh, wouldn't it be funny if like something broke, because last time it did. Yeah, we regret saying that, because obviously, clearly not funny, because I'll play the clip in a second, but both us, our van, and Josh's van proceeded in that night to leak. And I mean leak. Like, in our van, what was leaking was the back door, which was above our heads, pretty much. Our feet were by the sliding door and our heads were on the back door, pretty much. So we were basically getting rained on all night long. Everything was soaking wet, our pillows, us, our quilts, like the mattress underneath was soaking wet. Oh, it was probably the worst night we had. And then Josh's wasn't so bad because it was in the front of the cab. It wasn't in the back of the van at all. But it was so strange. He said in the morning when he got out, because he was awake before us, he basically said he opened his front doors and it was like a river came out of the front of the cab. So where he would drive. I think he was really confused because, you know, in the van, you know, you have like an interior light, or in any car, you have an interior light at the front, like in just before your rear view mirror. Apparently, Josh had an aerial on his van when he bought it, didn't want it, took it out. That proceeded to get rain in it, which then proceeded to build up. He basically said that the whole interior light might as well been a shower. He said it was coming through that bad and that much. So basically we wanted to get out of the Kyle, basically. We wanted to get away from the Kyle of Durness because, like, we got there, it was raining. We woke up, it was raining. The whole time it did not stop raining. So what me and Joe learned from the first couple of times that we went to Scotland was, if you drive out of that valley and into another valley, it's probably going to be a completely different weather system, which it is. So basically we drove down the road. I have no idea where we drove to, but I'm just gonna play you the clip right now. Right, so what has happened is last night we got really fucking wet. The roof,
do the thing my dad said, and then I'm gonna
the door basically is not working, and it's just shit. Well,
it's an old T4
bringing in lots of fucking rain at night time. So this is basically,
we haven't even done 10 miles.
We're just gonna try and get the door seal to go back on, and hopefully that'll fucking work and we won't get wet again tonight. But our pillows are soaking wet, the bedding is soaking wet, the carpet's soaking wet.
How am I gonna fix that? It's covered in round the back of it.
Oh,
bollocks.
fuck.
What do you mean, Rana?
But this is where we are. Absolutely stunning in Scotland. This is where we are right now. Absolutely stunning. Josh is helping Joe put the fucking van back together because, well, yeah, it's broken. Again. The rest of day 3, we did this really quickly. We did it in like 5 days. We didn't get out. We didn't do any walking. It was literally a driving experience for Josh. At that point, I have lots and lots and lots of footage right now, like of the past couple of days of just driving. It's literally just driving footage, nothing else. So here's a little montage of that. A few nights, basically what I'm finding out right now, there are a few nights where I'm really not 100% sure where we stayed. We came off of the Route 500, the NC500, for a couple of miles. We went out, so we got to Unapool, not Ullapool, Unapool, but we went on the B869 and we went around and then got back on the A835 the next day. We went to Ullapool. we went to Ullapool. So Ullapool is basically the only place on the west coast that has a proper supermarket, like a chain supermarket. All three of us argue that it was a completely different supermarket. I say it was a Morrison's, Joe say it was an Asda, Josh thinks it was a Co-op. We got on the 8835. I don't know how far down the road. It's quite far. You go up and over the hill. But basically, when you find a sign saying A832, that's the road you want to take. So as soon as you turn off onto that road, pretty much, you're going to get to the falls of Misash. I'm putting it up here. But mad, oh my god, a really cool waterfall. Basically, it's cut itself out of the gorge, which is really nice. So it's like a big steep bit that's been cut out by the water. If you're a little bit scared of heights, I wouldn't be wary, but I'm just gonna say it's quite high. Like that, there's a bridge across, and it is quite high up, and you have to look over to see the waterfall. So if you don't like that aspect of things, if you're scared of heights and that fear of looking over isn't good for you, then I wouldn't do it. Also, the bridge is a little bit wobbly. So the first time I went, I was a bit like, oh my god, the bridge says can only take a weight of 6 people, which for me I don't like, because people don't read that sort of thing. They just go, they just walk on, they don't read anything, they don't do things like that. They just go, oh, what's this over here? But I really like it. There's not much to do there. It literally is walk down the thing, walk across the bridge, keep walking, following the path down, and you can get to like another viewpoint, which is where you can see it from like a different angle. So if you don't want to look down and over, I guess you could look there. That was a small day as well, because we didn't really go far. We came from like up here, we came down. The place that we stayed was on Loch Marie. I think this is probably a spot that I really like. There were a lot of people there. I suppose it was on Park for Night, which I hate that app. That app has literally ruined so many of my favourite spots. Next day we carried on going south. Went off onto the road A896, which is Ben 8. I think it's called Ben 8. It looks like 8. But that road, that A896, is a really popular road for like seeing deers and spotting stags and stuff. And when we passed with Josh, we saw a stag that was happily near people and was letting people touch it and stuff. And then we saw these two, which is cute. I'm not sure if this road is a part of the NC500. I can't remember. We came off of the A896. I don't actually know what the road is. It must say Applecross on it. It must, because that must be the only way we knew how to take that road. Basically, this is Ben 8 here, and this is the road we came down, and then we came this way, and then we're going off on this little section here, because apparently this is a beautiful section, and I will agree with that. I think that tiny little bit of section right there has to be my favourite little part. I think it took us a day to go out around there. Yeah, then we basically did that, took some pictures, and then drove down it, because it was really cool. It's basically like this big windy thing. It's mad. And then that's it. We then come off of that one and we go on to the A890. That road then, once we're in that town, you can go straight on, which is the same road, the A890, or you can turn to the right and come up the big hill, and then get to the A87 again, which will take you to Skye if you go left, or if you go right, it will take you back to Inverness and back to Loch Clooney. I hope you enjoyed this sort of style of video, and I will see you next time. Oh, and if you are new around here, please subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. And yeah, I'll see you next time. Bye.